for coming. I am the chair. I'm the Vice Mayor, Todd Lands. The Vice Chair, Madam Mayor Marta Cruz, is in attendance, along with about 16 other of our participants and attendees. And I think, oh, we're up to 24 now. So we're getting quite the crowd. I love it. So I'd like to say thank you for coming. We have been doing a lot trying to work with our Cloverdale Homeless Community Advisory Group, working with the county and the people on here with our programs, trying to get everyone help that we can. Madam Mayor was working, as she was just stating, with the heat for a cooling center to help out our homeless. We've been going around getting care packages and anything we can do, and just little things lately. We can go over a little bit more as we go on, but that's me for now. And Madam Mayor, would you like to introduce yourself? And
yes, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for your participation. And please keep in mind that your input is very important in terms of how we address the situations in the city. Many things we don't have access to, many information. So we rely on collaborative effort to bring our objectives to date and to completion. So thank you again, and let's continue.
okay, moving on to the next topic is the update on local homelessness activities. I don't know if you want me to go, David, first, or if you want to go first. And how do you want to handle that, City Manager?
Chair, that's up to you. I'm happy to at least report out on our kind of our bridge project if you like. But yeah, exactly.
I would love to have you guys, since you spearheaded that between you and Kevin. I would love to have you guys give the update first, and then I can fill in anything that is added extra.
Absolutely. So if folks aren't aware, the city and Sonoma County, particularly the Department of Public Works, we're really lucky to have the Public Works Director for the county as a resident in our community, partner on a project to address the activities under the Crocker Street Bridge or First Street Bridge, adjacent to the entrance of River Park. There's been a kind of a hotbed of activity there. It's kind of a gathering location, kind of an encampment, and also a place where there's a lot of debris and trash that has been accumulated over time, along with what I think can be characterized as misappropriated materials. In a collaborative effort, our team, which included Chief Ferguson, our Assistant City Manager, Community Development Director Kevin Thompson, and also our park staff, prepared a notice and posted that area. Likewise, Sonoma County also did the same, and we undertook a cleanup effort. First, the county came in, did an assessment for hazardous waste, and the county employed a firm to actually remove what was deemed or considered hazardous waste. And following that activity, crews were sent in to clean up any of the remaining debris and trash. I have to say, once we posted it, or once it was posted that we were going to undertake this cleanup activity, a lot of the materials that were there got cleaned up by some of the folks, whether they're unsheltered or members of our community that were utilizing that area. Kind of did a self cleanup. Some of the materials that, especially the machine equipment, motorcycles, etc., those were kind of removed out of there. But following that, the city arranged for a container from our franchise waste hauler Recology. There was a fairly large amount. I would say I think it was a 40 cubic yard container, and it was about half full of just waste. So nearly 20 cubic yards of trash and debris that were deposited in the waste container. And following that, the county, and they've been doing this throughout Sonoma County, is reinforcing the bridge abutments. They did put rock material all around the abutment. I don't think there was actual undermining of the bridge per se, but there was, some digging and other, activities around the abutment, but the rock material was placed to kind of prevent future, future activities around that, because that is an asset an infrastructure you want to protect. So there's quite a bit of rock material that's been placed in, and that'll be very valuable, not only for helping to prevent future occupation of the area, but also to support the abutment. Because as we know from the storms in 2019, the water levels got really high around that abutment, and the erosion can be pretty significant. So I want to acknowledge the work that also Reach for Home did in consulting with some of the unsheltered individuals that utilize or otherwise, go through that area to do outreach and work with them to see what kind of services that they could provide and access. There was a very collaborative effort by Reach for Home to work with both the city and county as part of that effort to clean it up. But that's just a broad overview. I think there's kind of a next phase of activities that are planned really along the entire stretch from Crocker Bridge north along the River Park, and then in consultation with some private property owners to the south, doing some vegetation management. Now I'll turn it back to you, Chair, just to check in. And if you want, if there's any more updates, please don't hesitate to send it back my way. But I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. That was great. You covered everything. The only thing that I have to add is I got to meet with James Gore's office out there, and the supervisor for the SAT crews. They're the jail inmates that come out, or probationers that come out and help clean up and do the cleanup crews. You find them on the side of the roads and places helping out. They came out to take a tour. So Kevin Thompson and I got to go out with them and did a nice little 4-wheel drive tour, because the bridge was open for vehicles at that point. And so we got to take a nice little off-road tour and have a good time, and showed them everything. And they're trying to work out a schedule, but their schedule isn't just for now. The schedule is coming up to start soon, going into the fall until they're told they can't be on the riverbed, and then starting again next spring. So they will be continually cleaning and helping for fire suppression and your vegetation management. And in conjunction with that, it will be helping our homeless population from destroying our natural resources. Kevin, do you have anything that you want to add to this?
Yeah, just to say that we did discuss them working from the bridge north first, and that's on the county's dime. And then to the south, the private property owner has donated some money. So the thought was, let's get real good at it as we go north using the county money, and then for the the private money going south, we'll be more in tune with how to do it and how to be more efficient.
Exactly. Margaret, with Reach for Home, I don't know if you know the answer to this. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. Do you know how many people were helped, or how many people you had contact with down there, and how many people actually accepted any kind of help?
I don't know the answer to that. I can get an answer. But I didn't hear, usually if someone accepts help, it's a big,
I think you went away, Margaret. Hopefully she comes back soon. She'll probably jump in anytime now. Let's see, is there anything else to add to that? Nothing else to add at this point, but as soon as I hear when the SAT crews can start, which we had an email started about 2 days ago that has everybody on boards, and they're just waiting to get the exact date of start. And that's where we're at. They don't know if they're going to have 10 people or 30 people. And as soon as the SAT crews know, they're going to let us know, and they'll hit it as hard as they can. I will at that point be putting it out to the public for volunteers to help clean up trash, anything else that they can do to assist. to anyone that can help maybe get dumpsters and things to help, or chippers to help chip up the debris, tractors and things like that that will be necessary, dump trucks, anything that can haul debris. I know we have a lot of people that want to volunteer, so that is the answer to the question that everyone keeps asking. How can I help? I will be looking for everyone to help. It's just going to be as soon as I get a date, we'll all know. Margaret,
Hi,
are you
everyone.
back yet?
I know Margaret's trying to relog back in, but to answer your question, we got there when there was about 2 or 3 people left, but they didn't need assistance at that point.
Thank you, Juana. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Madam Mayor, anything else that you want to add to this that has been going on that you're familiar with? You're on mute.
No, I'm really looking forward for the assistance from SAC, and I know that whatever resources are needed will be provided. And if there could be a list of things needed, it will be wise to say we need so many haulers or so many trash cans or bags or whatever, so that when the event does take place, we are ready also.
It'll be like an Austin Powers movie. We need 1 million bags. Okay. So
Thanks.
moving forward, I would like to move on to the update for the Northern Sonoma County Homelessness Task Force. Who's in charge of that one, David?
Chair, I was on vacation that week. So Kevin attended the meeting, and it was to provide an update to our group today, this morning, or this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you, David. I'd be happy to. Really, a majority of the time on the Northern Sonoma County Homeless Task Force was we were in breakout groups. And I was actually in Councilmember Lands and Margaret from Reach for Homes group. So both of those guys were part of this meeting. Each breakout group kind of focused on a tactic, and there's implementation strategies in the plan, and then there's tactics on how we actually achieve those strategies. So the breakout groups included in community engagement, emergency shelter and interim housing, street outreach, coordinated entry, prevention and diversion, and permanent housing. So the group that Councilmember Lands and I and Margaret were in also was in our group was Esther Lemus from Windsor and Ozzy Jimenez from Healdsburg. So we focused on community engagement and street outreach. Margaret was kind enough to give us an update on a survey that she and Reach for Home have been working on for months, where they're asking questions to the homeless individuals living in the Northern Sonoma County area. She did present that, and I've asked her to present that at our next meeting. We didn't have time to get it on the agenda for this one, but she did present it to us at that meeting, and we went through the questions. I think we provided some good ideas on some additional questions that could be asked. So it's really a great point in time count that gets updated fairly frequently with a lot of information about each individual. So hopefully we can get Margaret to present that to us at the next meeting. Another big topic that we discussed in our breakout group was the idea of kind of information, because we saw the need to provide information about the homeless individuals living in town. And we kind of went to, I don't know if it would be like a newsletter or something like a newsletter that would be, distributed on social media. And the idea here was to talk about successes in homelessness, so it's not all negative. So we had the idea that maybe we could, highlight a particular person who was homeless, who is not anymore, and how they went on to be successful. It's kind of a, more of an uplifting side. But also we'd like to, highlight some of our successes, like the bridge project and the cleaning out of the brush. And the idea was really to provide information about what's happening to the public in our efforts with homelessness. So, and then another idea that came up with under the same kind of outreach was coming up with talking points for elected people and others on the topic of Northern Sonoma County homeless situation. So, and then part of what we did too was, decided who was going to be responsible for that task and what the subtasks were to accomplish that. And Reach for Home was kind enough to volunteer, sort of be the lead on us getting these stories together, with our help, of course, and so that we can start, kind of telling our story about what's going on and what we're doing in terms of homeless in northern Sonoma County. So that took up most of what we did. We're working through the tactics, which are tied to the goals. And I think the goal here is to create a 1-year plan. The plan right now for the northern Sonoma County is a 5-year plan, which is, that's a long time, but I think we're trying to break it into 1-year increments. I think that's about it. I don't know, Councilmember Lands or Margaret, if you had anything to add to that summary of the northern Sonoma County homeless meeting.
Yes, I do. I think we need to check with Steve Sotomayor, because he had mentioned that he was going to present to this group and to council on a summary of different efforts done in North County. So we need to check on that and include it in the presentation. That's basically the only detail that I can.
Yeah, there was different groups, and I think Stephen was in the group, which was kind of like a shelter group, and he led a discussion and reported out briefly at the end. But I can reach out to Stephen and see if he would be willing to come to this group and give us an update. And then we do have Margaret from Reach for Home also to give us an update on her survey results. So.
Yeah, I think he was going to do that to the Healdsburg City Council also.
Okay.
So it's pretty much the same report, and it would be very useful for all of us to know.
I can chime in and say, in a nutshell, Stephen and I have been working very closely together to try to figure out a strategy and a vision for what either a Los Guilicos model or permanent supportive housing model would look like in North County. We've been out with some realtors in Healdsburg to look at different properties to just get an idea of what we might have that would work. Nothing is moving forward or anything like that at this point. We're just trying to get our hands on what makes most sense. And thanks to Colleen from Wallace House, we have a connection to Kingdom Housing, who has helped with their project. And they're working through some financing and different models that we might be able to use to get funding for a potential project in North County. So that's a very high level synopsis of what Stephen and I have been working on.
And just to add a little bit more to it, Margaret had a list from everywhere within northern Sonoma County of all the people they've contacted, and without giving a name, if they had mental issues, if they had substance abuse issues, if they had been offered services and taken it, if they had been offered services and turned it down. So it was very comprehensive. It laid out a lot of information that is very helpful to us, because it shows how many want help, how many don't, so that our money isn't just spent going out and buying hotels and thinking we're going to stick these butts in their seats. It doesn't work that way if people don't want the help. And so that list that they have will prove to be very useful when we start looking at what our county truly needs to help the homeless or mentally ill, depending on how we want to look at this, because it's hand in hand for about 90% of our homeless population. Kathleen Posey was the one that was helping. She was in our group as well. And I don't know if anyone knows her. I don't know what her position is now. I think she just retired from the public defender's office. And I don't know if she's there or not, whatever. She's talking about retiring, but she's been there for about 170 years. Since as long as I've known her, that's where she came from. And she's always been a huge advocate. And she had a success story. And that's what made us think about getting the success stories. Was she had a woman that was homeless, and she helped and got her turned around. So when we sit here and we have our 99% doom and gloom, there are that 1% that we need to talk about and show that it does work, but we need to make sure our money is being allocated to the things that will make it work. And if I'm out of line or unfair or anything else anyone wants to add, please do. And I'm going to check.
Yeah, I may add, Mr. Chair, that a group from the North County Homeless Committee did visit the Sevastopol hotel that was turned into a residence for some people who had been unsheltered. We were able to tour the facilities, speak to some of the clients, and equally from there we went to Los Gilicos. Jenny Chamberlain was the county representative at the moment with that, and several of us in the county visited Los Gilicos also, and learn about how it has been functioning, what has not worked, what needs to be improved, and some of the success stories too. So that was a very good tour for us in between meetings. So just wanted to share that with the committee. Thank you. And you were there too, Margaret, right? You were, at least I saw you in Sevastopol. Yes.
So the last thing I asked from Margaret in our breakout group was that she could maybe provide the information that showed who accepted services and then walked away, didn't show up, did whatever to get out, so that we know, and this came up because of somebody in our town, we worked hard to get them a bed at Sam.
I don't know if you can hear us, but you're breaking up, Vice Mayor. Your screen's freezing.
Can't hear you at all.
Okay, it looks like our chair has logged off, and I assume we'll try to log back in. Irene, if you can let us know when he's logged back in, that would be great. And Margaret, he was kind of referring to your work for Reach for Home. Is there anything that you might want to add to our Chair Land's comments that he made thus far?
I think he was referring to a suggestion to kind of get a status update put onto the list that he was describing earlier, so that we know, who took services and who maybe ended up back in Cloverdale or wherever they had originated from. Just more data to try to see, how many times has someone been 5150'd, or, kind of data that could help us figure out where the break is in the system. And I think he was going to use an example of someone that went to Sam Jones, but that's about where my knowledge ends.
And Margaret, kind of a follow-up question on the county has established what they're referring to as the IMDT team, inter multidisciplinary team, outreach team, and they have used or established a database, pretty robust database program established by IBM. And I'm wondering, will the data you're collecting, comport or be tied into that database, or is it really a separate database? And I'm wondering if there's any information you can share just with the group about, what the county is trying to do with this database. It sounds like we have very similar goals and objectives in terms of really trying to have a data informed decision-making process. So,
so they use Watson, and what we're looking into right now, countywide, is whether or not all of the organizations such as Reach for Home and COTS and service providers could somehow tap into Watson, so we can all be on a single kind of platform speaking to one another. Another thing that has recently been discussed is we have a database called HMIS, and that is the database where we put all of this information into, which is one of the databases that feeds into that Watson database you were referring to. And one of the issues is that it's a closed system right now. So if Reach for Home puts in information about someone up in Cloverdale who goes to COTS, this just happened actually. This is a real life example. So someone you all know in Cloverdale went to COTS, and while they were at COTS, there wasn't any way we could see what was happening with that client at COTS. There was no way within the system for us to see what notes were being put in, what was happening. And we know that person, we've been working with them for years. And so there was no easy way to coordinate care for that person to help their success at COTS. The person ended up back in Cloverdale, I believe. So if we can have an open system where we can, share information between service providers, there's a good chance we could increase the quality of care that we're giving to the people once they get into a shelter situation. So we're also discussing that as well as to how we can open up the HMIS system so that all service providers can at least have access to the data and the notes of each of the people countywide. So we're hoping that this information will be more shared and expansive. One other thing is that the county as a whole, and also subsets of the county, so North County, South County, West County, and then Santa Rosa area in general, we're all talking about how to start by names lists, which is what we've pretty much already started here in North County. And that's a very comprehensive list with people's names, their situations, all of those things that were described. But we're looking at doing that countywide, and then that way we can really hone in on, how we can help people who maybe are slipping through the cracks or can't get help in different ways. So you might start hearing this by names list terminology.
Thank you for that update, Margaret. And I want to point folks to a county website. It's sonomacounty.ca.gov CAO/projects/access-Sonoma. Otherwise, you can type in Access Sonoma County in your search browser. It does provide an overview of the database and what the county's goals are around tracking this HMIS information, along with a whole host of other, as they call it, client-related data, some of which is protected information because it addresses the medicines and the diagnosis for those some of the health issues that our populations are experiencing. And so it's in process, and I think the effort that Reach for Home is making to help, build the data that goes into the system so that the county as a whole can work more collaboratively on, addressing the impacts of our unsheltered populations, but also on the solution side and have it be data driven relative to the services that are being offered, along with the host of medical information that's being provided and tracked by our healthcare community for those individuals. So there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of work being done kind of behind the scenes to build this database. So, I think, they're trying to provide more access to it by our partner organizations and also by the public, so that you can kind of see, what data can be provided. It's visible and transparent, but they're working through a lot of different issues. And Jody, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna I saw you shaking your head, so I'm assuming you work with this system a little bit, and I don't know if there's any more while we're still waiting for our chair to get back on here. Is there anything you can share regarding the system?
No, I do agree, though. I have some patients that I'm working with that are also part of the they're touching with whole person care in the county there, and part of the NCS program, got her sheltered, and there seems to be a drop off in communication. She was moved to another location and I couldn't even find her. So I do agree. I was kind of thinking about how like the the Sonoma Connect and the Unitas, and the whole concept of having that, the unsiloed system to where we can, be able to see, where patients are going and who's touching them. It makes sense. And so yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem, once we have moved our patients somewhere, there's just the communication stops. And then I can't, like we were having issues with some behavior, and I can't help, if I don't know where she's at and if she's been moved. So yeah, it's an issue. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Jody, for that
Yeah.
overview. Vice Chair, Mayor, I know it looks like we're still waiting for Todd to join. I don't.
Sorry, Mr. Kelly. It looks like our Vice Mayor is on. Here we go.
All right, great.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you. You're back.
I'm up in the hills in Lake County, so I apologize. I think my workers actually just took out the satellite off the top of a roof when they're stripping a roof. So I think I lost all my internet. So I'm on my phone now. So where are we, David, if you don't mind?
Absolutely, Chair. We just completed our update on the Northern Sonoma County Homeless Task Force, and we got input from Margaret at Reach for Home, kind of following on your comments, as well as Jody Kane from Alexander Valley Health. We talked a little bit about the tracking database that is being developed, the access network through the county, so we can have better information by our partners that are providing services to our unsheltered population, and be able to track what's happening better, including placements and so forth.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm glad you guys continued without me. And if it cuts out again, I apologize. Just go on without me, because I'll probably throw my phone into a lake if that happens again. So we'll move on to the next one. If there's I didn't see any hands. The next one is the update from Police Chief Ferguson on police response to the homelessness.
Thank you, Chair Lance. Since our last meeting on June 8th, we've actively continued to enforce the curfew hours at the plaza, and I think we've seen marked improvements. In fact, I've received some correspondence from community members who've noticed an improvement in that as well. So it seems like everybody's adhering to it well, and we haven't had any significant issues with it. We haven't been as active in the river park as we'd like to. We did get the UTV back, but we just haven't been as busy down there. We've been a little bit shorthanded, but hopefully get back on that soon. We did also respond to that fire off McCrae Road. We've been pretty good about responding to just about every fire that rolls up out there, and even help the Sheriff's Department in times where a quick detention needs to be had or something. We'll continue to do that as soon as those come out, and hopefully we don't get any more, but we'll certainly respond. Since June 8th, we've done another 51 total activities related to homeless contacts in and around the business district and everything. And again, I just stat this for the sake of knowing what we're dealing with, what type of calls we're getting. And I'll go on in a minute here when we talk about some costs that are associated with all of this response. We continue to conduct our early morning business patrols with our CSO, and primarily we're talking about one individual here. If we do find him in front of the business doors and blocking, it's pretty much down to one individual. And I think that individual's been brought up here before. And the real challenge here is, and I know Chair Lands can attest to this, so many efforts have been made on so many angles to get this person the help that they need. And unfortunately, Chair Lands did a great job of trying to help. And I unfortunately had to send him a text message that a week later, guess who's back on the streets? So I think he also found out the challenges that come with this, and no real solutions that we have immediately. So, until we get the mental health crisis taken care of, this is going to be what we see unfortunately, on a regular basis, particularly for a couple of individuals that are regulars, if you will, here in our city. I think it was already brought up. We did go out and assist with the efforts for the encampment cleanup under the bridge. That went really successful. We're glad to be a part of that, and any help in the future, we'll be more than happy to step up and be a part of that. Like the last meeting, and I believe it was Renee, one of the attendees, who asked about what the cost was to deal with homeless related incidents in our city. And I believe she asked for the possibility to get statistics from 2019 and 2020. So if Irene, if you don't mind sharing the screen. I do want to thank Officer Jim Stratton. I put this project on him. It was a rather lengthy project that required some digging and then putting a cost associated with our time. So I'm really appreciative to him, and I think he did a heck of a job. He created a full binder, but what I'm only going to share with you today is what these costs are associated with it, because that's what's asked. So you'll see here the graph, which does discuss the type of incidents we responded to, and then the monetary figures that's associated with it. It's explained a little bit better if you'll go to the next screen. So if you look at right here on 2019, is there any way we can enlarge that a little bit so people can see it better? So
It's
if you look,
good, Chief.
thank you. If you look at the three columns to the left, you have HRI. We do these, that's called the homeless related incident. So anytime we have an involvement where it's homeless related, this is how we clear the call. We use this specific code for statting purposes. Same thing applies for anything that's related, homeless related in the city plaza, in our downtown business district area, and then any arrests and reports that are relative to that. So in 2019, you'll see how much time as officers spent dealing with incidents in the homeless that were homeless related in general, than in city plaza, downtown, and the arrests. At the bottom, you'll see the costs break down. So the total for 2019, if you add those four columns together, the PD spent $68,640 worth of time to address homeless related incidents. So if you'll go to the next screen, Irene. This would be the 2020 statistics. Now keep in mind, you're going to see a lower figure here, and that's primarily because of COVID. And it's really attributed to the arrest stats, because we didn't make as many arrests. We were trying to keep those individuals out of the jail facilities due to the COVID concerns there. So you won't see as much activity as far as the arrest and reports. I will tell you, we still had an enormous amount of activity of foot patrols and other contacts. So if you go to the next screen, Irene. So again, if you look at the columns here, you'll see the breakdown of time we spent, City Plaza, downtown area, and arrests and reports. Much lower in the cost on arrests and reports, but overall for 2020, 27,680. And I would anticipate as 2021 is halfway through the year, you're more likely going to see figures closer to 2019 and what we've addressed. One of the bigger expenses comes with the 5150 aspect, what it takes for us to first contact, make the assessment, get the transportation provided, turn them over to appropriate resource. You're talking about a fairly significant amount of time. And as I've previously reported in this, one of them, I think we're at 8 times now since 2020. So this is going to be the biggest part of our revolving door concern that we have. And I don't see this going away anytime soon until we can properly house a couple of our individuals that truly, truly need to be in facilities designed to help them. Otherwise, this is going to be a regular occurrence for us, and we're going to see these numbers year after year after year. So I really didn't have much more than that, but I'm certainly open for any questions or comments that anybody has.
Thank you, Chief. I'd just like to make a quick comment or question. You mentioned the mental health crisis and said that this won't be solved until we start working on that. I wonder why, and we all know this isn't you, it's the county, because you're doing your job and taking them places. Why isn't the county focusing on something like that? And maybe that's where we need to start putting our efforts, is pushing the county to start money on the mental health aspect of this, because that would virtually solve our homeless problem if you solved or had somewhere for the mental health to go. I recently found out the Sonoma Developmental Center is being turned into a equestrian place. It was sold. I mean, what is our county thinking?
So, I don't have the answer for what their thought process are, but I will agree with you 100% that it is a mental health issue. I won't say that it'll solve the homeless problem, but there's a significant amount of people in the position that need mental health services, and it is a crisis. And I don't think that Wallace House, Reach for Home, they do wonderful services, but it's not going to be them by themselves until that mental health issue and that crisis is under control. You can put 10 people in 10 units in a brand new home, but if they don't get the mental health intervention that they need, then you have 10 of these same issues taking place in a house. So that's, in our case, the two we discuss on a regular basis, it is 100% behind what needs to be taking place to help them. They need to be placed. And by placed, I don't mean 72 hours. By placed, either conservatorship or long-term.
So one of those two,
Mr. Chair, if I may.
if you may, 1 second, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
The one of the two we're talking about, Chief, is the one that we helped, and you did a great job getting them the 5150. And then they were released. And during that time that they were on their 72-hour hold, they found out that the person had maggots in their finger and had to cut the person's finger off. A normal person doesn't go around with maggots in their fingers and think it's okay. A normal person doesn't walk around in 113-degree weather with no shoes on and think it's okay. This is where I can't push any harder by myself without screaming from the top of the city hall to the county, telling them, you guys aren't doing your job, and their problems and their health issues and our money lies on their shoulders, because they're the ones that are, and I hate to say it this way, but they're screwing our town over, and they're screwing over our community members by allowing this to happen and not putting the money where it needs to go and trying to buy hotels versus mental health assistance. That's my take. Now, Madam Mayor, please, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Yes, I think that as a committee here in Cloverdale, we need to address the Board of Supervisors and highlight these issues. I think we should request to be able to contribute to the conversation, and to also send a communication stating the different observations that we have been able to highlight in these conversations among ourselves. Because we can talk to James Gore, but he's only one of the many. So I would believe that it would be appropriate for us to address the Board of Supervisors, and David could guide us on how to do it in the appropriate process and following the protocol for us to be part of that county conversation. David, could you please contribute to that?
May I add real quick before David jumps in, if you don't mind?
Of course, go ahead, please.
And I've said this before, and I hope that our council does lobby very hard for that crisis intervention team, that it comes out here, that it gets out here, and that it actually addresses the needs and the issues that we have brought up. Because you can clearly see, and I know, Mayor, you just saw an example of this at your cooling center. 3 hours went relatively smooth until hour number 4 rolled around. When you saw hour number 4, that is what we see on a daily basis down here, and multiple times throughout the day. That's nothing new to us. And what you observed in the other individual without the shoes and the finger and that is in every single morning somewhere in this city that we address and that we deal with. So to really lobby, first and foremost, is to get that crisis team out here to the north, and to address these folks. Maybe that will be the start of realizing there's a bigger problem out here that needs immediate attention. Those two need immediate attention, without a doubt. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. And Chair and Vice Chair, if I can, just to weigh in here. And I want to point to an article that was included in the agenda packet, providing an update and overview on Laura's Law. to me, that's a kind of a critical area where we ought to focus in on, and maybe an area where this committee wants to recommend to council communication to the Board of Supervisors on whether to adopt and support Laura's Law. What we see from the article that while there was a tremendous hesitancy among county government to support Laura's Law initially because of some of the requirements, more and more counties are now beginning to sign on because I think of the very issues that the group is discussing here, that would enable the county to basically hold these individuals and get them the proper treatment and care that they really need, that they're unable to provide for themselves. And it seems to me that Laura's Law is maybe the real critical link that's missing here for the county. So I mean, and speak to the chief. I think there are other policy recommendations, that we certainly should seek, including additional outreach services, crisis outreach. But to look at it from a comprehensive perspective, once that crisis intervention happens, the county also needs to have the authority and tools on the back end to be able to address these individuals who clearly cannot take care of themselves or make decisions for themselves in a way that's good for their well-being. So I want to acknowledge Colleen Halbum for providing the article. I think it provides a pretty good overview and update on why this could be an important tool for the county to include in their toolbox. And I guess back to you, Chair and Vice Chair, is that a kind of a policy matter that we want to recommend we bring forward to council? And if in doing so, I recommend getting support from this group, from our community advisory group, and any of the key participants on the community advisory board in regards to Laura's Law.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. And I didn't know Colleen got that. So thank you, Colleen, for getting the information. You guys know I've been very vocal about Laura's Law. And with Laura's Law, it's a great tool for these two we're talking about, but it's the tip of the iceberg for the mental health problem that we have, the crisis that we're in. So I think that what we truly need to do is, in my opinion, is we need to write a letter to the county regarding this and state our position as to not just Laura's Law, but the mental health services that they're not being provided wherever they may be from, whether it be from a mental health facility, our jails, our anything, our hospitals, wherever they can be given. We need to push to make our county be responsible for this. And that's my place. If there's anybody, I have a list of the people that have their hands up, and I'm going to go through them next. But that's where I stand right now. And I think it sounds like Madam Mayor's in the same boat, and same with David and the chief. So let me go through a couple of the people with their hands up real quick, and we can kind of hit this. Margaret, I see your hand first in the panelists.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think it is tackling this from several different angles. And I'm really glad that City Manager Kelly brought up Laura's Law, because there are some big policy changes that need to take place for any of this to work. We call in 5150s, and the police show up, or whoever it is that's doing the 5150, and they will not take the person if they don't answer these questions correctly. So you can talk your way out of a 5150. It's very easy to do. And they cannot take that person then, even though we all know they're walking around in 115-degree heat without shoes on, or they're freezing themselves out by Healdsburg Lumber in Healdsburg, like whatever the situation is. So there needs to be policy changes there, and Laura's Law is the first step in that. So I think helping to show the critical nature of at least enacting Laura's Law at this point is a win. And I think it would be a great idea for this group to put forth something like that. Then, once they're in 5150 hold, they're stabilized, and that's another point where they can be released, where there's not the ability to hold someone. So that's a whole different policy that needs to be changed, because they just get released back out once they're stabilized, and then we just keep going through this again. And we've had a little bit of success working with IMDT and being able to kind of follow up once they're in a 5150 hold to kind of give some backstory behind those numbers. This is their 8th hold, and this is why they need to be committed long-term and get this care that they need. But there are policies that can be changed to make that much easier. It's like an uphill battle. And then there's the other piece that was talked about having enough bed space and funding and that sort of thing to get more people out there. But I think it's like a 4-pronged or something like that approach to the crisis, and just want to make sure that all prongs are mentioned, because just one of those things is not going to solve this at all.
Right, thank you, Margaret. I appreciate that. Next one I see is Renee.
There you go.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you to the chief for putting the numbers together associated with the costs that are being spent on transients that have mental health and drug issues, and suggest that we spend some time studying the information and using that to make strategic decisions like those that we're talking about to do with the county, and get them to step up with additional support. And then also to Vice Mayor Lands and the police department as a whole, excellent job. You have made more progress in the last month than since 2018 when I started attending these meetings. So thank you very much for that. I have a little story to tell that I was downtown back a couple weeks ago, and had guests from out of town that we went downtown Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Marked improvement. No visible transients. I was worried that my friend, who happened to be ex-law enforcement, was going to comment her first time visiting Cloverdale about people hanging out in the plaza or in doorways. We did not see one person the entire weekend. So thank you for the improvement. And then also thank you so much for the efforts at fire reduction at the river. Removal of the vegetation is huge. Placement of the boulders is huge at the First Street Bridge. And just the services to those that will take them, fabulous. So thank you again to everybody for the efforts, and we just have to continue to be diligent.
Thank you, Renee. Appreciate that. And we are going to keep working together, and I'll be hitting you up for anything we can. Well, you're next.
Angela, you can unmute yourself now. Hello, Angela. You can go ahead and unmute and make your comments. If
Angela?
not, we can come back to her, Vice Mayor.
Okay. I don't see any other hands. Let me double check again. Just Angela's hand up. Everyone
One
else?
more. Pardon
One
me.
more.
From Sue.
There we go. Sue, yes, please.
Hi, I as well. This is Susan Verde. I want to thank you all for your continued efforts. These improvements are amazing. So really, thank you so very much. I also wanted to, at the beginning of the call, Kevin had mentioned that maybe using social media to put out more positive comments. And I just wanted to add that not everyone's on social media, which I know is hard to believe, but what about using Cloverdale Connect or the Reveille? Is other ways to also get out these positive stories. So in addition to Instagram or Facebook or wherever social media you were thinking of, maybe some print media as well would be useful. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else, Irene? I'm not.
Looks like Angela has unmuted herself. Go ahead, Angela.
Sorry about that. I'm on another Zoom call as well, so I'm kind of juggling all of it. I just wanted to say that I think it's great what the police are doing. They're enforcing as much as they can right now. You know, it's an understatement when people think that, you know, they don't respond, they don't do anything. Their hands are tied. They enforce the law when they can. Not only that, they have to be counselors. They have to deal with mentally ill people. That's not their job, bottom line. You know, I feel that, in my opinion, Marta Cruz likes to chase the money. We need to stop chasing the money and start lobbying for our county to pursue Laura's Law, open up a mental health facility, not shelters. We don't need any more shelters. That's ridiculous. How many times have these people been offered? They don't accept it. They don't care. They need to be incapacitated in some way, conserved by the courts, whatever the case might be, but they cannot be on the street. When the individual who had his finger amputated, you know, that was really sad to know that he was living like that, and that was okay with him in his world. And every day when I pass by him, I cannot believe that he is allowed to live like that on the street, that there is no help for him anywhere at all. And it's not the police job to babysit him. It's not really about money. Quit wasting money on the resources, you know, for the people that you know, the homeless people that you're out there offering all these services to. You're wasting time, and you're wasting money, and you're wasting resources. They're not mentally capable of living on the streets, let alone making a decision to accept the help. They can't even make a decision to take their medication. So support your local police, support your local city council, and push for the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors to adopt Laura's Law. It's very simple. The county, you know, dumping all kinds of money into hotels and homes, that's just one word: monopoly. What's going to happen when, you know, all these homeless people move out of the hotels and stuff? Then what? The county's going to make a profit off of renting the hotel rooms or selling the building. They're monopolizing. I mean, all of you are very intelligent people. It's not that hard to see that the county's monopolizing. That's our tax money. The homeless that are in the hotels, I could tell you right now, it's like hog heaven for them. They have food catered to them. They receive daily menus. Restaurants are getting paid by the county to bring food. And I'm not talking, 50 burritos. I'm talking custom orders of whatever it is that they want. They want no rice. They want extra sour cream. They want this and that. They're just being catered to. Dig into it. You'll find it yourself. If I can find it, you can find it. It's not that hard. Let's not be that city who wastes money and chase or waste time and money when it's not even needed, and chase this money. Every time I hear Marta Cruz, it's, oh yeah, let's go after the money. Let's go get the budget. Let's do this and that. No, stop the problem. Thank you, Chief, for your stats. We appreciate that. I know that took a lot of time and effort. It doesn't go unrecognized. And I do know that you guys don't get a lot of, support, and you're not told enough that you are appreciated out here. You really are. And I know I'm just one person, but I also speak for many people, that couldn't be here or that have private conversations with me. You are appreciated, and so is the fire department. I would like somebody to figure out if we can get the fire department stats, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be up there just like the police department. So if we can get the stats for the fire department of how much time and money they've wasted on this as well, responding.
Over 3 minutes by now. You've been going for a while, so.
Well, I didn't know we had 3 minutes. My last comment is the reach for home. You guys want to have them provide statistics. Well, let's not forget that they falsified the count. Okay. I won't forget that. And I will always bring it up, and I will make sure that everybody knows. So when these statistics are provided, any statistics by Reach for Home, they need to be investigated and thoroughly looked into and overseen. They can't be trusted. If they falsified a count, what else will they falsify? Period. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. I want to just say that the day that Chief Ferguson contacted me regarding the person coming back into town, I sent a lengthy text message to James Gore with my frustrations. And he said that he had just got done advocating for Laura's Law, even though they had just voted it down in Sonoma County. He's still pushing and advocating for it. So we have someone on our side, and we need to continue to push as a group here to the county through him to show our support for Laura's Law and anything else that we can to get the mental health facilities and care that they need for this crisis. Irene, is there any other hands? I'm sorry, I'm on my phone, so it's hard to go back and forth. I see Colleen's got a hand up here. Can we go, Colleen?
Yeah, hi. So I'm really super encouraged by the focus on presenting ourselves as a united front to send a very clear and concise message around conservatorship. You know, the examples that we've highlighted today around the gentleman who had the finger removed and our lady who got hit by a vehicle and was released back into the community. We've had a number of clients with severe mental illness that had psychosis, and the challenging part is that they can amazingly come in and out of it. So you might see them in one moment where they're in full-blown psychosis and you think, well, they're so out of it, they wouldn't be able to engage. And you talk to them and they're able to say, oh, hi, hey girl, how you doing? And hold a conversation with you for a period of time. And that's that is unfortunately why I think it gets really confusing with people that we've encountered. We have had a number of people at Cherry Creek Village who were provided with some pretty intense case management from the VA, who had severe mental illness and psychoses. One of them walked out onto Cloverdale Boulevard and was hit by a car. So eventually he was conserved, but it took tremendous paperwork and a lot of effort. We've had another gentleman who started fires in one of our units, and we ended up having to try and get him into assisted living. He was there, but they couldn't keep him. He left, he came out, he went and stayed in somebody's shack, lost his foot. So, I mean, people do lose, body parts because we're not doing what we should to protect them when they can't make decisions for themselves. So I am so happy to hear that we're actually going to really, drill down into this issue in a way that can help the ones that just break our hearts on a daily basis. So thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. And I know most of you know that I was a deputy at one time, and this isn't a new problem. I remember one time, this call is one that always kind of sticks with me, and I use it as examples. I spent over 4.5 hours trying to talk a guy out of a tree because he wanted to kill himself, and he was crazy and screaming about things, just really incoherent with statements. And I finally talked him out of this tree and took him to the 5150 hold. And by the next morning, he had been released, gone home, and ended up in a fight with more deputies and died. So within 6 hours of the 5150 being placed, he was back home. And so the problem lies beyond law enforcement because they're doing all that they can. Their hands are tied with the finances. And then, what do you do when the person comes back 37 times after 5150 holds? So this is I think the great direction is pushing forward to show our united front that says we want you to do it a different way than what you're doing. And if there's any other comments, Irene, let me double check. I see none.
Hands are raised.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your help with this. We will move on, if no one else has anything, to the next, which is the results of the Cloverdale Homeless Supporting Action Ranking Survey. Is that Kevin?
Yeah, that's me. Irene, yeah. Okay. So a few meetings ago, we've been discussing our homeless strategic plan framework ever since the conception of this group. And so we've been trying to work our way through that because there's a lot of good ideas in there. There's a ton of good ideas, but there's too many ideas, I think, is what we kind of concluded. There's 7 goals, and then there's supporting actions. So we discussed the idea of, presenting the supporting actions in a survey in both English and Spanish to see what the community's ideas were for where we should focus our attention. So I'm not gonna go through every single one of them, but what I did was I kind of took the top 10 and then the next 10, and I kind of tried to figure out a way that would make it to present the supporting actions that seemed like they had consensus among the, can you go to the next slide? Sorry. So that's what I did. And I'll like I said, I'll go through pretty quick. And the idea here is we as a group can look at, what the top 10 or 20 are and try to focus our efforts there. And then we can just keep the framework as it is, but focus on those. Or we can go a different direction, but that's kind of the idea here. So next slide, please. Oh, we had 41 respondents, by the way. So hang on one sec. I gotta move my screen here. Real quick, fire prevention, the highest one. Next screen. Safety, second highest one. What I did was I took the most important or top priority and added those together to give, so there's a positive response for each one of these questions. So safety came in, 87% of folks thought that was one of our highest priorities. Next slide. Identify people at risk of homelessness was also high. Keep going. You can cruise right through them. Expand public safety, high percentages. Lobbying efforts, we've kind of been talking about this today a little bit with Linda's law and Laura's law, excuse me. So that came in high. Keep going. Let's see. I got my establish communications with those who interact with the homeless. So we're kind of doing that with with Colleen and Reach for Home. So we're doing those. Next slide. Again, lobbying for criminal justice reform as well as mental health reform. Next slide. Establishing emergency fund that the city would have came in as a high. Next one. So on this one, and there's a few that kind of were against what this strategy was suggesting, which was create a website for information on homeless. We kind of have that a little bit already, but there didn't seem to be too much support for that idea. So next slide. Field-based outreach. So this is provide field-based outreach to connect with homeless individuals. Next slide. So here they are, summarized. This is the top 10. Again, we don't necessarily have to do this, but this is really what the community, the 41 respondents thought were what we should be focusing on. So maybe Irene, you can just kind of cruise through. I'm not going to mention, but we can go down. I had another summary on the next. Okay, you can go back up a little bit. So all of these achieved at least a 60% approval. So outreach, homeless by volunteers, align our programs with the county programs. Some of these are a little nebulous, but like increase the city's capacity to relate to homelessness. It's a little bit nebulous there, which we could argue we're doing that through this group already. Establish a committee. Again, we could probably argue that we're doing that through this group as well. A partnership with Sonoma State, that's something that came in semi-positive. Social media strategy, we kind of talked about that. That's kind of occurring a little bit with the Northern Sonoma County Homeless Committee through James Gore's office. We talked about success stories as a possible way to get some messages out there. Coordinate outreach with downtown businesses. So that came in high. Establish a hotline, increase access to sanitation and sewers, toilets. And there was sort of a negative outreach to landlords, which, through the county's rental assistance programs is really occurring already. So those are the remaining items, which are about another 12. None of them really received over 60% support. So you can just kind of go through those real quick, Irene. Flexible spending accounts, maybe we can just go right through them. I don't need to say what's on the screen. People can see that. you can see a lot of these kind of, the two bars in the middle are fairly equal, which means, you know, half the people agreed and half didn't think it was important for us to focus on. So again, as we work through the strategic framework, we have these supporting actions, which, you know, I think in the beginning when this committee was formed was really what we were going to be focusing on. And I still think it's worth pursuing. And we have our side conversations with other things that are happening. But my recommendation would be that we take the top 20 based on the survey. And not to say that, you know, the top, there's not any good ones in the remaining 20 through 30. But if we're going to follow what the community has told us through the 41 respondents on the survey, we could focus on the top 20, and maybe I could, you know, come back with some, you know, maybe some further implementation measures that we could work on, see if there's any interest in the community to take up some of those. It's not that dissimilar from what they're doing in the Northern Sonoma County homeless, where they're working through the strategies and trying to assign, you know, who could, who's interested in that, and what we could do to be successful in those particular areas. So again, if there's direction today, I can take the top 20 and come back at the next meeting with some ideas. Maybe I could email it out to the group if there's ideas on, and I'm open to suggestions on how we could do this. But I was thinking maybe the top 10 would be our main focus, and then the 10 through 20 a secondary focus, and then the other ones we would remain in the plan, but not necessarily high priority. So David, I don't know if you had anything to add to that, but that's kind of the conclusion to my survey results.
Yeah, just to add, well, thank you, Kevin, for preparing the survey and reaching out. You know, we tried to connect as best we could through the website and through the weekly newsletter. Kind of a plug, if you haven't already, please sign up on our website under Notify Me for our Cloverdale newsletter. Lots of informative information, I think, the city's sending out weekly that is very helpful, including links like this to surveys. But as Kevin said, you know, our interest as staff is to seek and get feedback on the priorities so that it could be identified in the planning document. You know, ultimately, our goal is to bring forward for council consideration adoption of the framework so that it actually becomes a strategic plan that we work from going forward. I did want to comment, as you can see, you know, some of those priorities, you know, do take staffing time and ultimately do require or will need some funding assistance to fully implement. So, you know, that is a key aspect of this, is, you know, putting funding behind some of these initiatives. Of course, you know, staff is committed to doing as much as we can internally. We all have pretty busy schedules, and we have a small team here. So, you know, helping to fund some of these initiatives is a critical aspect of this planning effort. And we really want to put dollars and funding where it's going to have the most meaningful outcome. So I think it's important to really look at what the priorities were identified and deliberate. You know, what are the highest priorities so we could strategize and ultimately reflect that in the planning document to get support for council.
Yeah, and I would just add that if you look at, you know, the top 10 priorities, a lot of those are already occurring. This group and others in the community are already hard at work doing those. So that is something that I could also point out if directed to bring back these top 10 or 20. You know, some of them we can say, okay, we're doing these already and we should continue, and here's maybe a way we can enhance that effort. But there are definitely some that are underway already.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. That was great. It was a great survey. It came out really well. I think some of the top 20 could even be combined together if you wanted to, you know, have your top 10 or whatever, and you could probably, they're all there, and it's amazing, and I appreciate it. So however you want to word it, I think you've done a great job so far and can push forward. I think, looking at what this committee wants is to come out with some type of resolution to bring to the Board of Supervisors. It says, this is what we want to do and this is what we need. And it's going to be money, it's going to be bodies, it's going to be programs, and it's going to be facilities. And I think that your top 20 nailed that. And I think what we are doing is as much as we can, but our hands are tied where we are.
You're absolutely right, Councilmember Lance. There's two that are lobbying efforts, so those could easily be combined. That comes to mind right away.
So let's move on to some hands, if you guys don't mind. I see Trudy, if you don't mind. Hi, Trudy.
Hi. Hi. Thank you for this meeting. And as everybody else said, thank you so much for all the effort everybody has put into this. And like many people, I would love to be part of the solution going forward and look forward to hearing about ways that I can help. I just wanted to say that I started to take that survey and I found it to be very challenging to answer those questions because it seemed to me to be a bunch of solutions without understanding what the goal was or how effective those solutions could be. And so asking to rate what's important and what's not important, I found to be very challenging and I stopped answering the survey. There may have been more people like me who would have completed the survey if it was clearer that there was a clear goal. Like, is the goal to protect the community? Is the goal to get more people from living in tents on the river? What is the goal? It was a little nebulous for me. So I appreciate the efforts, but I wanted to give you that feedback on my thoughts about the survey. Thank you.
And Chair, Vice Chair, if it's okay with you, just to clarify, where these strategies came from, and it may respond to the speaker's questions. I'd like to direct you to our website, which is www.cloverdale.net. If you in the search, if you type in homelessness, it should bring you to our homelessness web page, which includes a copy of the draft homelessness strategic plan framework, which contains all of the initiatives that Mr. Thompson spoke about, and included in that document are I think a fairly comprehensive set of goals and objectives. Doesn't mean
David, sorry, the mayor got disconnected. She wanted me to let you know. She's trying to get back in.
Thank you. And it may help provide some context and background for the initiatives. All of those goals kind of fit within, all of the initiatives fit within the goals that are provided for in the plan. So it kind of flows from the goals. And so it's I think it's a good point. Looking at those initiatives in isolation maybe doesn't give you the context for them. But maybe looking at the plan and what are the specific goals and objectives we're trying to address through those initiatives may provide some additional perspective.
Thank
so
you.
I'd encourage you
I appreciate that. I am late to the game. I understand that, so I will definitely read that. Thank you so much.
And feel free to reach out to either myself or Kevin, and we can, if you have any trouble finding it on our website, happy to get you the link.
Thank you.
And the real simple answer, Trudy, to that is our goal. The answer is yes. Every single thing that you listed, our goal is to virtually solve that problem, and that's what we're trying to do. Next person is Susan, I see.
Hi, and thank you again. And I'm not going to comment on the content of the survey. I think that I did just want to make a comment that we have almost 9,000 or more residents in Cloverdale. Only 40 people took the survey, and I know it's not as big of an issue as the water rates that were sent to people's homes. I know you guys are making amazing efforts. There's the bulletin, there's posting on the website, probably on social media, which I'm not on, but I just keep thinking, gosh, we need to capture more people than 40. And when we're asking for the community's input. So again, I would just say, is there a way to put it in the, just a little blurb in the Reveille, a little blurb in the Cloverdale Connect? Is there any other ways to keep trying to get more people's input? So I just wanted to say thank you again for the efforts, but I just would love to see more people involved, and how do we capture those people? Thank you.
Kevin, did you want to say anything, or do you want me to?
No, it's a fair assessment, and I understand the survey is long, and it's really generated from our framework. And the whole goal of the survey was to get it shorter, so we could, instead of this group kind of deciding which of the supporting actions we wanted to work on, we wanted to hear from the community. But it is also this group's prerogative to evaluate the plan and provide input on which ones seem the most important. This group is very involved with the homeless community in Cloverdale. So I mean, from my perspective, it would be both this group's input as well as, what we can get from the community. All of them are good. I mean, there's nothing in there that's, not, I mean, they're all good and noble pursuits. It's just, we are limited in what we can do. And it was just the idea to whittle it back a little bit. So, I mean, it'd be nice to get more respondents, but at the same time, I think we do need to kind of move along a little bit. I mean, we can keep the survey on the website and keep promoting it, but I would still request that I return with, what I kind of described before, which is taking the top 10 or 20 and trying to identify groups that would be interested in doing those, what we're already doing, and just start working through them more thoroughly.
I agree, Kevin, and I think that now, once this gets out, then more people will start commenting or taking the survey, and it can get whittled down a little bit more as time goes on, because we can't handle all 20 goals. Even with the county's assistance, we couldn't handle them all. But it's a great starting point. It's a great focus, and I think that we move forward with it as you have it planned. Is there anyone else that has any other comments on that? I don't see anybody listed. Angela.
Hey, Kevin, I think you did a good job, and I have to absolutely agree with you that it's time to move on. People are tired of it. Quit wasting money, like I said before. Find a different directive here. Put all your energy into going after the Board of Supervisors to push for Laura's Law. Support your local police and fire department and help them reinforce what they can and can't do. And just quit spinning our tails on, oh, the poor homeless. We've offered them, and keep offering them, and they just keep refusing services. It's over. It's done. Move on. Who cares? If they didn't take the survey, oh well. I started the survey and said, screw it. I show up at the meetings and speak my piece, and I felt the survey was just a waste of my own time. So as you know, I engage in the meetings. Again, move on. Oh well. The problem is there is no solution until the mental health crisis is addressed, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Let's see. I don't see any other hands. Irene, am I missing anyone?
No other hands, Vice Mayor.
You. Okay, David or Kevin or Chief, anyone want to make any other final statements on this? Okay.
Yeah, no further comments. I think that really concludes staff's presentation today. Again, I just encourage community members who are listening in to, review the plan, and of course, it's we're still making adjustments. So if there are folks that have comments, please get us your comments, and we'll take those into account, and ultimately we'll want to bring forward this plan to council for final consideration.
Thank you, sir. And to make it clear to everyone in this meeting or anyone that watches it later, my email and my phone number are on the website as well. You can contact me and I will meet with you. I will discuss this with you and hear your concerns. So anyone that says that I won't, you're wrong. And I know Kevin and David and Chief are the same. So let's move on. We're gonna go right into public comments if there's anything else, because I think going through the goals, we've nailed it all and we have a game plan. So is there anyone with their hand up for any other comments of anything else that they want to discuss?
I'm looking. Okay. one from Sue.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm just wondering, would it help as citizens to also write gore, etc. about Laura's Law? Like, would it help for individuals to make this known that we want these laws changed? Or is that really should come from a community effort such as yourselves?
I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think as many as we can send their way will show our support as a whole community. So individuals make up our community, and you're one of them. And I think that every individual letter they get, they have to read, and it's a good thing to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. I don't know if Mayor Cruz made it back. I don't see her on my screen.
No, I haven't seen her return.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to do a little around the horn here. Chief Ferguson, do you have anything you want to add right now?
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Kevin?
Nothing. Thank you.
David?
No additional reports, Chair.
Thank you. Melanie, you've been quiet all day. What's going on over there?
Oh, just a little multitasking from time to time, but really my bottom line is I did take the survey, and I did find it easy to understand, but I think having 20 possibilities to look at is overwhelming. And I think if some can be combined that kind of go hand in hand in already, then that's great. And maybe a narration of what we're already doing. That would be really helpful on how we decide as a committee which top 10 are going to be our top 10 that we can afford to do and implement that are realistic. Because my experience with the job I do is I can do a few things very well, but if I try to do a lot of things, I don't do them, and any of them as well. So I just would love to whittle it down a little bit more than like top 10.
Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate that.
And
Jody?
Chair, yes, we do have one hand. Do you see that?
Okay, go for it.
From Claudia. Claudia, you can unmute yourself and make your comments. Claudia?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We have you, Claudia.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. It's my first time on the cell phone, and I had to find the raise hand and unmute and all that goody stuff. So anyway, sorry. I'm just gonna wrap it up real quick because I know we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to say thank you to all you guys for the incredible efforts that you guys have made with trying to keep our town safe regarding the homeless. And I agree 100% with Angela. And of course, I'm sure there's lots of other people, you know, for the homeless people definitely need the mental health, putting them in hotels. I understand it was during the pandemic, and so they wanted to get them off the streets. But it is crucial that they get the mental health. And I don't know yet enough about Laura's Law. I need to look that up. But I feel that, yeah, as quick as we can do this, you know, especially in this heat and what they're going through, they do need help pretty quickly. And so whatever we can do to get that rolling fast, to protect our town, to protect them. And so thank you again, CAL FIRE, PD, City Council, and all the agencies. And I agree that it is very, it's a new term to me, the is it AS? I feel that the communication system on improving that, I think that's a great, not finding the word right now, a great thing to do so that you can track where they are, you know, where they, you know, and to track their condition. And so what else? I heard a beep. Anyway, so yeah, I think that it's a great thing to get many agencies involved with this to resolve this. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Appreciate your comments. I think we've actually made some good progress today. I see we have good ideas for the city to work forward to bring forth to the county and stand united as a group and as a town. And I just like to thank the county for all they've been doing to help us get through this, and our own city workers, our police and fire department, the sheriff's office, Wallace House, Reach for Home, Alexander Valley Healthcare, the senior center, St. Vincent de Paul. And, you know, well, glad to have Michael Velasquez back and helping out. And I just look forward to where we are going to be in a month. So with nothing else, our next meeting is scheduled for August 10th. It says at 1 to 3. David, aren't we going to do every other one a different time? Was it 5 to 6:30? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think that was the intent, was to rotate meeting times. So if we want to set the next meeting to be in the afternoon, that certainly follows that previous discussion of rotating meeting times.
Let's do that. I believe it was 5 to 6:30. If I'm wrong, Irene, please fix it and make it what it was last time. But I'm going to call it that for now. August 10th, 5 o'clock for the next meeting. Zoom as of now. And if it changes, we will make sure that it is put out to the public as much as we can. So with that, thank you all for being here and commenting and asking questions and saying what you could. Thank you guys for everything.
Thank you.